Okay, this is just the result of severely damaged nails. Like I was saying before the dogs interrupted me. When that nail, which has been grabbed by the cuticle and held there, or that composite, it had a solid nailed over it that looked normal. And when it broke loose, when I turned it loose from the cuticle, pulled it loose, and it started to move out, the cuticle immediately locks down on whatever's underneath it, which this is just a bunch of composite of stuff. There's a part nail there that formed, or that could be impacted cuticle skin, but it's probably a part nail kind of that formed to cover the nail bed where I'd chewed the nail off. So when whatever is on top breaks loose and moves out a little bit, the cuticle then immediately locks back down on whatever's underneath. And so it's a stack of nail or composite and nail and composite. The nails aren't really, and I've said in these videos that the nail moves off. It doesn't really move off. It moves off just a little bit, just far enough to be turned loose. And then it's undermined. Then it will start to delaminate and reveal the nail underneath, which has again been stuck down by the cuticle. So you have to turn that nail loose, and it moves out a little bit, and then it starts to disintegrate and reveals whatever's underneath there. But in the meantime, all of this junk has accumulated, stuffed under your skin, just like a pork sausage. Look at that. The white stuff, that's all dead cell or dead skin material that should be normally moving out in an orderly fashion, day by day. As much dead skin or cell material as is produced in a day is supposed to move out daily. It's not supposed to get bottled up under your skin and just get stuffed and stuffed and stuffed in there. That's what's happened. And when you finally get these nails loose and start letting them delaminate, all of these stacks of nails that have formed over your life since you started biting your fingernails, all of this attempt by your body to cover up, it can't repair, but it covers up the damage. A new nail would form over that. This nail would become normal looking over time if I left it alone, if I just didn't do nail maintenance, because it would level out and a new nail would just form over it, and it would look perfectly normal after a while. But you would still have all this junk underneath there. So you have to delaminate, you have to let the whole stack delaminate all the way back to where you first started biting your nails. All the damage that was done your whole life, if you've bitten your nails your whole life like I did, then all of that accumulated junk is under there. It's just stacked up, layer after layer after layer of composite like that, 2 or 3 different nails and maybe some cuticle skin, impacted skin, and then a new nail form over it. It's very plastic, the nail. It remains plastic. It's always plastic. It changes just like stained glass. They say the medieval stained glass windows, the glass is actually thicker at the bottom because the glass is hard, but it's plastic. The nails are the same way. So this nail would actually have a new material come out over it, fill up and cover over all of those little imperfections. But look at all that junk. See, the junk is bottled up back there. So every time you break a nail loose, it gives an opportunity for some of this crud to come out, and it will ride out on top of the nail or on the nail bed. Sometimes when this stuff is full and the nail is being forced out underneath it, you can actually see grooves in the nail, and that's from the junk that's over the nail, up under the skin, up behind the cuticle. And as it acts just like a grater, when the plastic nail material is being forced out underneath it, under all that pressure, it actually lines and grooves the surface of the fingernail that you're going to see, that's going to harden up when it hits the air. But in the meantime, you see what's happening. This is like a bag of chicken fat that's deflating. The old dead skin, accumulated dead skin material or cell material that's under the skin. This used to just be blown up like a balloon. And it's not only here, it's all the way around. It's stuffed into you. When you clog your fingers, when that fingernail freezes, that stuff doesn't pile up just behind the nail on top. It stuffs the whole thing. The whole tip of my finger is just basically a sack of not just layers of skin, but it's actually had more dead skin material stuffed into it like a sack. And it's got to come out too somehow. This is truly remarkable, and I don't think people really understand what they've got on their hands. But that void there, right here, that dent, that used to just be full. Flesh. And behind it, there's that little bump, and then behind it, you can see more. That's just all of that white material underneath the skin. That's actually loose material. And this right here, where it's red, where this junk has apparently just come out in the last few days, see that whole big blister there, that big chunk, it might have been right up underneath there, behind the cuticle. It might have all moved out and hardened up right then. That right there may have been right there last week, where that hole is. And it's moved out now, and where that's red, it itches like fire. What you're doing is you're disturbing stuff that's been impacted for years and years and years. And when it starts to empty out, it means things are changing under there, the relationship. Things are, this stuff is now moving around, and it's over here, it's over there. My fingers are starting to, I have to rub them. You see how swollen they are. The tips of your fingers are not supposed to be bigger than the barrel of your finger. So if you have big rubber nubbins, you've got just huge accumulations of dead skin and stuff underneath the skin. And it all has to go. So look at the profile of that. On the left, I pulled it out, and this, you can't see it because the light's terrible, and I'm not freehanding this. But that started to straighten up on the left-hand side. I pulled a chunk out of that. It's still oval. I need to do something better here. It's trying to focus on something else. Let's see if I can get it. See if I can find my nail again. Where the hell is it? It's 8 times magnification. This thing's wonderful. Okay, but you see where it's oval the cuticle is still an oval on the left. You see where if you followed that curve, you see the curve would go right under the nail. And that's right. Everything in front of that line is obviously a projection of junk. It's beyond the cuticle. So if you took that down, that when that front bit of junk delaminates and comes off, which it will in the next day or so, it doesn't move off, it flakes off immediately. And it'll wash off. And a lot of this rubbery junk that's coming out from under here, it'll just sit on top of that nail, and you'll be able to wash it off. If I left that alone, those dents would fill up again in a few days with kind of soft plastic material, and it would start to look like a nail. But all the damage that's still left underneath it would still be left underneath it. You have to get it all off. And you can see that material accumulated under there, underneath the skin. And it's starting to empty out. It swings out way wide on the right-hand side. The profile of your nails is supposed to be thin. There's not supposed to be skin sticking out on the side of the nail. The edges of the nail are supposed to be parallel and straight. And the cuticle, if the nail was the right length, the cuticle would appear to be straight, going out. It would follow the nail. And there wouldn't be that skin sticking out. It would just be the nail. If you look at people whose fingers are normal, they don't have 1/8 of an inch of skin sticking out on the side of from the side of the fingernail. It's more like it is at the tip. You would have to draw that line from the narrow profile straight back by the nail. Everything outside of that on the right is just where the finger is swelling out from the impacted junk underneath the skin. It's just stuffed like a sausage skin with junk that's now becoming mobile and moving out. You can see it under the skin. But you couldn't see it before because it was all the same. The balloon was blown up, it was uniform, it didn't look lumpy like that, and it wasn't revealing itself. Now that it's breaking up, it's turning into separate little pockets. And the little pockets will move around. It won't be the same tomorrow. The white spots will be in different places. Look at that. You see that? That is dead cells. That's accumulation of dead cell material underneath the skin, and it's now knows that it's not supposed to be there. It's loosened up. It's itching like crazy, and it wants to get out. And so my job is to keep taking loose the cuticle, breaking it loose from each successive layer of nail as it tries to stick back down, and to keep this junk moving out. That top nail will disintegrate, and then underneath it there will be more. And by the time it moves out, if I break it loose and it moves out a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch where you can see, then some of this junk right there, it will get a chance to move out. It'll move out on top, and it'll be real loose and rubbery. It'll try to form nail as soon as it hits the air because that's how the nail forms. It stays very plastic and liquid until it's like a 2-part resin, until it hits the air, and then it hardens. And when there's no junk on the nail bed, it conforms to the nail bed. It's supposed to take its shape from the nail bed. It's not supposed to take its shape from creating a top nail on top of a bunch of junk like that. So I have to go all the way back down to that bottom of that stack of pancakes, all the way to the nail bed, and all of this junk has to flush out from underneath the skin, and then the new dead skin or cell material that's moving out daily will form nail daily, and it will be new, clear, hard, and you will be able to see straight through it to the nail bed, which will give the nail its color, which should be pink like that. In front of the cuticle and before that big lumpy collection of part nails. That's a part nail. Oop, I can't tell which way I move my finger. I did this by looking at the screen. But you see there on the left, that's something that's just formed there to cover the nail bed where I had peeled the nail off of it, and just exposed the nail bed, which is like a raw wound. So immediately, and that's the other thing I didn't understand, that nails are essentially just good-looking scabs. That's all they are. But if they're forming properly, they're clear and hard, and they look and they're the shape they are because they conform to the nail bed. The nail bed is the shape that your nail is supposed to be. Not supposed to be a bunch of lumpy crud like that. But that stuff, you can see it now underneath the skin. You couldn't before because my whole finger was puffed up and deathly white, just like dead flesh. You know, like I've seen people that electrocuted themselves and the wounds where the flesh blew out, where the electricity came out, blew out pockets of skin. The wound doesn't bleed; it just turns deathly white like that, because the wound is cauterized when the skin blows out. But you can see the junk underneath there now, and that will itch, and I'll rub it with I'll rub my finger, you know. I'll rub that finger with my thumb and press it and mash that stuff around to try to relieve the itching. But this is good news. See that? Look at that. Look at that. That's been in the last day or two. You see that? Stuff, when you break it loose, that stuff starts to move out really quickly. The pressure is tremendous, and that pressure has been affecting me subliminally for 60 years. You know, it affects the way you talk to your boss. You know, if you talk back to your boss, it may be because you've been biting your fingers your whole life, and you have all this subliminal crud that's affecting everything. I don't think people realize how serious this is. The pictures I'm seeing on the internet are astounding, and the pictures of my own fingers that I'm taking, I didn't know that all this junk was underneath my fingernails. And I'm going to show you a picture of my fingernail on I've got it on my desktop, and I'll go in there and take a picture of that nail, and I'll try to if I find one of that finger that I maybe had took just when I was just taking miscellaneous pictures. If I hold something up in my hand, like something I'm thinking about buying, and I take a picture of it, and my fingernail is in the shot, if I can find a picture, I'll do it a side by side of the finger the way it looks now, the fingernail the way it is now, and the way it looked 2 years ago, and you'll be astounded, because my whole finger was at the tip was maybe twice as wide, because the overnail that had built up, it was twice as wide as that nail. You know, not twice as wide, but it's huge. And it was stretching that cuticle out. And that's always just been nothing but a source of irritation. It's not moving off, it's just stacking up, and it's pushing the cuticle out farther and farther and farther. And it moves out. When you first start doing this and the first top nail moves off, you'll be amazed at how much smaller the nail bed is, the barrel of the nail bed underneath all of that crud. It would be 1/8 of an inch or more on each side. And that's just creating push that is pressuring it to the outside. It's not going straight out. That pressure is bearing on the cuticle on the left and right. And it crosses over the cuticle, and it will start to cut into it right there, and that is just additional discomfort. But look at that. You can see that junk underneath there. And before you couldn't. The whole finger looked white. There was nothing to differentiate it. It all looked the same. It was just stuffed as full as it could be with dead skin material or dead cell material. And that is a serious divot. And the other day, and it kind of changes, you know, because on the bottom side of my fingers, a few days ago, I had one that had emptied out so much that I could press on it right there, and the dent would stay. It would move over here, and the dent would stay there, like a beanbag chair or something. That you mash it over here, and you take your finger away, and it would stay dented in like that. And then I could take it like a bubble switch. I could mash it over here, and it would dent here and be full over here. It's because it's a void. But now there's so much junk. Hey, who knows how far back it goes? 60 years. How much dead crud is under here? Look at that. You see those white spots? You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? You don't see what it is. It's hard to see. It really is. It's hard to conceive of it. But so there's more and more and more, no matter where it comes from. If it comes from back here, if it comes from the tip. How does the junk under there get back around here and manage to come out? I don't know, but it's got to. It's either going to peel off or it's going to come out where the nail is. One of the two. There are not a lot of other places it can go. But it all has to go away. But there's more and more and more of it. So that's why this void, it may fill up again in a day or two, because this material back here will break up and move down. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what I want it to do. Just like the tip of my finger. I can't mash on it over here today and have that dent stay there. And I can't mash on it over here and push that dent out and have the dent stay over here, because that void, that dimpling, has been filled up now with new dead skin material and whatever it is, dead cell material. It moved back down and filled that pocket back up. But you can see the modeling even there. That white, those little spots of white underneath the skin. That's all dead cell material that was been trapped under my skin and is probably supposed to have been gone years ago. And waste is waste. So is the waste? The next question is the waste poisoning you? How does it affect your body? I'm not just talking about the subliminal pressure and stuff, but physically. This waste, it's like fecal impaction. You'd be dead in a week. If you had this problem as a renal problem, which some people have, they do drugs, they stop passing the waste out of their intestines. Their whole body shuts down, and they retain their waste, and they call fecal impaction. You're not eliminating the waste, and the waste poisons you. How toxic is this dead skin, this dead cell material that the body has been trying to get rid of? How does it affect me actually medically? What's the effect of it? How toxic is it? It's waste. It's supposed to be out. It's not supposed to be stored there under the skin. It's supposed to go away. But so what happens when you bottle it up, when you let your fingernails get glued down by the cuticle, and the nail doesn't move? The dead material no longer just moving off every day the way it's supposed to. It starts to accumulate under the skin. Well, what does that do to you? You see it. You see these little white bumps, pockets, under all my fingers. Some more than others. And it changes. It just wanders around every day. I'm sorry I'm freehanding this. But I think it's important. If you get it, you get it. At some point, if you get it, you'll see what's going on. That nail is not supposed to be flat like that. It's supposed to be cylindrical. The sides are supposed to drop vertical and not wing out like that at a 30-degree angle or something. So everything, the 2/3 in the middle, is almost the right shape, but they're supposed to curl and go right down, straight, vertical, up and down, not just drift out like that. That happened when the nail material coming out started to flow out over the cuticle. So all of this, all of this is going to peel off. I thought there was a shelf there or something that the nail naturally sat on. No, all of that is accumulation. The nail is supposed to drop away, and there's not supposed to be anything else out beside it or underneath it. The profile of my nail should be much, much smaller than that, much narrower, and not fat here. The tips of my fingers are swollen up. And these are just stacks, and when this dead skin comes off in front, where you can see it, when it drops, if I could just take and peel all that skin off, which I've seen people do on the internet, it's really dramatic. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what it is. They just pull on. I saw one guy that pulled the whole pad down, and what he'd done, he'd pulled off all the callus, but he didn't know it. And the bottom layer that was there, that was the living skin. That was where his actual finger is supposed to be. And all of the rest of this is just junk. And if I actually peeled all that callus off the front, then you would see a stack of nails there, like pancakes, maybe 1/8 of an inch high. I don't know why this thing won't focus. I tell you what, this 8x magnification, though, it helps. If you're old, you ought to be using your camera for everything. Like I am. It's a lot better than your eyes. But you see that's still submerged. That nail is still submerged in dead skin. Just a huge accumulation of dead cuticle skin. Why won't this thing focus? Layer after layer after layer, it builds up, and then the nail builds up, and it spills out. At a certain point, the cuticle can't really rise anymore, and the nail material still has to try to force its way out. To the extent it's successful, it will overrun the sides, and the nail becomes wider and wider and wider. And then the nail will stretch the cuticle out, and the cuticle becomes stretched out wider and wider and wider. This is a tremendous source of discomfort, whether you realize it or not. These nails are not supposed to be flattened out like that. And you can see there that side nail, when it comes off, if that were the right shape, it would be the shape, if the nail were the right shape, if it were coming out and forming every day, it would conform perfectly to the nail bed, and the nail bed would tell you, this is the shape of your nail. This is what your nail is supposed to be shaped like. It's not supposed to be a big, flat, or arched. You see these things that come out from the side and they arch up, and they come out like big hooks or talons, claws, and they curl right down in front of the finger. The nail rolls right down, comes out in a big arch, and just rolls right back down. But they look beautiful, but they're not attached to anything. They're either arching up to get over all of this accumulation of accumulation of skin, cuticle skin, stuffed just laminated onto the front of your finger, this big rubber nubbin. They're coming out from down here. The nail is growing from down here, and it's coming out and arching over this to get over it. And then it curls right back down. It's not attached to anything. It's supposed to be the same shape as the nail bed, and it's supposed to come straight out. The sides are supposed to be parallel, and it's supposed to be, take a section of a cylinder, and then just file it off on the front in a little curve like you would a fingernail, and that's what your fingernail is supposed to look like. It's not supposed to be flat and wide or arched. It's supposed to be dead straight. When it comes off, it's not supposed to be bumpy like that. It's supposed to be dead straight on top, and the sides are supposed to be parallel, not oval. Anytime you've got oval if your fingernails and your cuticles are oval like that, it means you've got nail material building up that's forcing them out. They're supposed to be parallel. See, that's come back a little bit. I pulled a chunk out right there yesterday, and it still has that overnail on it, but you can see it's a little straighter. When that overnail comes off the side, the nail may start to come out more straight, and the side right here will collapse. Your fingernail is actually supposed to be, if you take it, none of that's supposed to be there. My finger should look more like that. There should be very little on the side of the nail. Not like that. Okay? Same thing there. Pulled a hunk out there yesterday. You can start to see it's coming back. We haven't gotten to the nail bed on the side. You see? It's under there somewhere. And see, that's pushed out on the side. If it's oval, it's wrong. And part of it is that there's so much cuticle built up behind the nail. The nail's not as long as it should be. If you have long fingernails but they're damaged like this, they're just basically like nail extensions. They aren't stuck to the nail bed. The nail is only supposed to be where the nail bed is, and the nail bed is still back. It's hard to say where it is, right there. All that junk has to come off, and then you'll have a better idea. But not only just all these nails, this accumulation of nails and stuff have to come off, but all of this junk up underneath my skin has to flesh out. The nails are supposed to be made of the waste that's generated every day, day by day. It's not something that you should flesh once every 60 years. So if you've got any of these kind of problems, it's time to get on it and roto de baño. You need to flush all this stuff out. Look at all that. See that? Do you see all those little bumps? You see all those little white bumps? That is loose, dead cell material. This is back there waiting for a chance to come out. Until all that damage is gone, I won't even know if I even have a chance of making new, normal fingernails ever again in my life. I may just lose my nails, I still don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what I'm going to be left with, but I know this. I'm going to get all the damage off. I'm going to get all the dead skin off. I'm going to get all the dead nail off. I'm going to get all this shit out from underneath, pardon me. Get all this stuff out from underneath my skin. Look at that. Get all that stuff fleshed out, and then we'll see what we've got. And I hope then that my nail bed is still intact, underneath there somewhere, and when all of this buildup of puffy skin on the front of my thumb is when all of that's gone, and my finger is a half an inch shorter than it is right now, that all that stuff in front of what's left of the nail there, all of that is a buildup. It's basically a flexible callus that you could break loose and peel off. You can see how the profile is diminishing. It's narrower at the tip, but it goes radically down because it's so puffy back here. But it was puffy all the way out to the tip of the finger before. And there was a huge nail covering all of it. You don't know what you're looking at. I'm starting to actually see the damage. But underneath there somewhere, there's a nail bed, and hopefully it's still shaped like a cylinder. And when all this crud is fleshed out from underneath my skin, then the new dead skin material or dead cell material that's shedding off my body every day the way it's supposed to will come out every day and form nail every day, and it'll be new. It'll be kind of a frosted, and it'll look pink because it'll pick up the color from the nail bed that's actually nourished by actual oxygenated blood. Don't be fooled. You don't have beautiful nails. If your nails are not the right color, if they're yellow-brown, if they're anything really but clear, there's a problem. You're not, if you can't see the nail bed, basically, and if your nail is not picking up its color, taking its color from the nail bed, then you've got stacks and stacks and stacks of dead nails laminated on top of your nail bed, and they're frozen there by a cuticle. And they don't move off. When you break it loose, it just moves out a little bit, and then it delaminates, and it reveals the nail or the composite of junk like that underneath it. And then that will be stuck, and you'll have to break it loose. I'm getting there. This hasn't got a huge stack of stuff on top of it, I don't think, anymore. This is just, you're looking at the nail bed now. It's still submerged in all of this puffy cuticle skin accumulated on the front of the callus. That's just all that red. All of that red inflamed looking stuff, that's all callus. And that collar, the red collar behind the nail, between the knuckle and the nail, that's a wide band of accumulated cuticle. Each cuticle is separate. It's like a rubber band. It's like a hem on your trousers. And if you cut it one place, it unravels all the way around. I'll show you a picture of my old thumbnail. You'll be astonished. It was it covered all that. It was much wider, and it was much longer. And except for the fact that it was arched, coming out of the damage on the side, where I'd bitten the nail and was trying to get over a nail flake or over all this skin that's not supposed to be there. It should be straight. It shouldn't arch. Fingernails don't arch like talons. like claws. They're supposed to be straight on, parallel on the sides, and straight on the top. Dead straight. Hope this helps somebody.